metaphor for loneliness in Taxi Driver is the taxi. Just the idea of this taxi just roaming the streets late at night. And so I said, well, what could be the metaphor for the loneliness today, the disconnection today? And I thought the phone.
Welcome to Film Forums. Our guest today is a very prolific actor, someone you definitely have seen on screen. He's a writer, a director, a producer, and someone who just released his first feature film, an indie film entitled iGilbert. We're here to talk to him about his career and about the film. Hello, Adrian Martinez.
Hello, Patrick. Thank you for having me.
Tell us some more about, how you came about getting this very rich career, and how did you get to be so busy?
Well, it requires two things: resiliency and talent. I don't have either one, but I got lucky. Honestly, I was a teenager when I started, and I was a high school sprinter. You wouldn't believe it now, but I was. And a friend of mine told me that they were having auditions for a reality show, a reenactment show called Unsolved Mysteries, which is here in the United States. And they needed a track star. And I was a medalist in high school as a sprinter. And I said I had no interest. And they told me it was $600 for the day. And I said, okay, where do I go? And I went, and the whole audition was a 40-yard sprint. That's it. I didn't have to say anything. And yeah, I won the race. And then the director told me, okay, cool, you got the job. And then I showed up on set, and he said, just run as fast as you can, and then bang on that door over there and say, open the door, open the door. And I said, why? Why do I want the person to open the door? Who am I? Whose house is this? And he said, don't worry about it. So that made me realize that I wanted to be a director, because I wanted to know why I was banging the door. And
do you see yourself now, after this very long career, more as an actor always, or are you more of a writer or a director, like you just said, because you said you had that inkling of being a director first?
Yeah, I've always felt I was a director at the core, because whenever I was acting or whenever I went to a movie, I would always question camera angles, the choices by the actors. Why not use a 50 lens? This would be good with a low angle shot. I was always thinking this. I was actually criticizing, some of the directors like Scorsese and Coppola, like, I don't know. I think this scene is too dark. Gordon Willis messed up here in Godfather 2. And I just realized that there was something I wanted to do, but I didn't really have the confidence until it became very clear to me that acting, I needed to scare myself as an actor. I had been acting as a character actor. I had been a sidekick to all these stars you mentioned. And at a certain point, I felt spiritually hungry for more. And so I turned 40, and I was just like, I feel like I need to say something about the world I'm seeing, the disconnection that's happening. And that's how I started with iGilbert.
I mean, each character feels like someone one of us knows at some point or has met in their life. And I wanted to ask, how did you make this composite of characters that just fit in so perfectly with so many nuances?
What initially motivated me to write the script was a true to life incident when I was sitting on the subway in New York, and this guy walked up to this attractive woman and just started taking pictures of her face. And he wasn't mean, he wasn't angry, he was dead. He was absolutely impassive. And that's what got to me, was how cold he was about it. He took some pictures, and she's like, what are you doing? Get away from me. And then he just got off the train on the next stop. He never said a word. He never screamed. He never laughed. And I thought to myself, who is this guy that he thinks he can do that? And where are we going with this? Because I have a daughter who just became a teenager, and who is she going to wind up dating in this? Who is she going? What crowd are we going to have here that she's going to build a life with? And those two things just sort of cooking in my head, and then I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I knew I wanted to write a story about connection or disconnection. So I remember seeing recently, in about 2012, I saw a movie called Marty, which was about a lonely guy who lived with his mom. And this was shot in the 1950s, I believe. Marty was played by Ernest Borgnine, who won the Oscar for it. And I thought, well, Gilbert could be the Marty for the 21st century. And then I remembered going to a seminar with Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver. And he would always talk about metaphors. And he said that the metaphor for loneliness in Taxi Driver is the taxi, just the idea of this taxi just roaming the streets late at night. And so I said, well, what could be the metaphor for the loneliness today, the disconnection today? And I thought the phone. And so that started the creating a character whose whole world was dependent upon this phone, whose only attempt at connection was through the phone and taking pictures voyeuristically of women and building a world of photographs, because that was the only way he could get these people in his life, is by taking these photos of them.
At one point, you want to dislike him, and then at the next one, you just bring us back into feeling good or feeling nice about the guy, and maybe he's not such a bad guy. How hard was it for you to, bring the ups and downs and the nuances of the character to make them real and make them in a way that keeps the story moving forward?
Thank you. I mean, I feel like the most important thing is the ambiguity, because that's where you and I live. That's where most of us live. No one is black and white. No one is just one note. Everybody lives in this gray area. And I feel like if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever felt no one understands you, or you just, no matter what, you just can't connect with anybody, then you've had a Gilbert moment. That's who he is. And I wanted to talk about about people like this, because in our culture, no one talks about these people. And yet we're seeing them more and more and more. We're seeing them in all levels of government. We're seeing them in the street. We're seeing them everywhere. And it has to be something that we talk about. Yeah, I mean, we've all had that Gilbert moment.
And if I look at your cast, they all seem like they could each carry a movie if you give them a movie. Because
100%.
yeah. And did you go out of your way to get the people you felt that these people could carry a movie, and I want them in mind, all of them?
I mean, I didn't know Dascha Polanco, who plays Jana, and I hadn't seen Orange is the New Black, and I hadn't seen her in anything. And it was my wife who told me Dascha would be terrific for this. And so I had the casting director reach out to them, and she read the script and she loved it, and she totally bought into it. And we had a long conversation on the phone. And I knew she would be the right one, because I started watching her work in film and TV. And there's never a false beat to anything she does. She's completely authentic. She's completely present. And that's exactly what I needed. I needed someone that could bring a three-dimensional, full life person to this character who's desperate to connect with herself, because she suffers from this body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
And she's trying to push away Tony. She's trying to get a new life. And then Raul Castillo, I knew him from a movie we did together called Don't Let Me Drown, that went to Sundance, and from a theater company we were in. And Raul just is the same thing. You can count on him to deliver. I'll tell you a story. The scene when Jana fights Tony in the bedroom, that was their first day,
Wow.
and they had never rehearsed. And I literally stuffed them into a cannon and shot them out. I said, I know how ridiculous this is. I know what I'm asking is completely unfair, but you need to go all the way there to make this scene work. The stakes could not be higher. And this was their first day, and they had just met, they didn't know each other. And to their credit, they brought a great deal of passion and courage to their performances, which is what you need. Actors are athletes of emotion, and these two were absolute thoroughbreds. They were just fantastic in the movie, and I'm so proud of them.
You kind of feel like there's a wink towards minorities, in not only in the selection of the actors or present, but you feel like as if you really want to bring these individuals or these minorities up front and center and give them a bit more representation than they usually get in film.
iGilbert was my attempt to take responsibility for what I wasn't seeing in mainstream movies. I felt I needed to take responsibility for that and just make a film where I could showcase actors of color really doing their thing. And it was a great privilege to be able to work with these terrific actors. Mojan Margot is a wonderful example of an actress who we saw her in House of Cards. Everything she does, she's just so intelligent and beautiful and smart and good. Monique Kernan, who I love, I've worked with her before. Socorro Santiago, Emilio Delgado from Sesame Street. I thought to myself, no one's going to believe that this is the guy from Sesame Street. And sure enough, he was fantastic. He gave a Chaplin-esque performance, to his credit. So it was important to me to, have a diverse cast and an inclusive cast. But more importantly, it was important that we told a story that really connects with everyone, regardless of what your ethnicity is, because we've all felt despair and we've all felt this sense of disconnection. And that's really what the story is about.
I wanted to give you a chance maybe to talk about the challenges of producing an indie, and if you have
Well,
anything you want to highlight on that level. We all know the challenge, but yeah.
so producing was difficult for me, particularly during difficult scenes. I remember the line producer just coming up to me, we need you to sign these checks before lunch. And I was just like, I have to shoot this scene with Jana right now. I mean, can you give me but we really need you to do it. And so you're signing these checks, and I didn't like any of that. So it was my least favorite part of this hyphenated role I took on. I found acting and going back and forth between acting and directing that felt seamless. I, of course, wrote and rewrote every day on set. It was a 20-day shoot, and every day there were changes. Sometimes just walking around the street, I would like see things, let's shoot this. And that was stolen from Inaritu, the director for the movie Babel, who spoke about how be open to the miracle, be open to shots that you didn't plan or foresee, but if they advance the story, you should just grab it. Why not?
So what next for the movie now? It's doing festivals. You're on commercial.
Well, we have a distributor. It's called Gravitas Ventures, and Gravitas is distributed in the United States and Canada in theaters and streaming. So everywhere, tell your friends in the US and Canada, it's everywhere. Apple TV, it's on Amazon Prime, it's all of those things. Now the challenge is getting it to you and to your part of the world and to Europe and South America. And we're negotiating that right now. So definitely later this year, it'll spread out and hopefully people can talk about it. And they can always follow me on Instagram, Taste of Adrian. And I really welcome their thoughts on the movie. I do read the messages. I do answer the questions. Unless it's crazy, then I don't. But I'm excited about to see how people respond. So far, the response has been very positive here in the States.
Well, based on what I've seen, I'm pretty sure people are gonna have a very positive response. It was a joy to watch the movie, really. And what's next for you? You have anything planned in acting career, writing career?
I right now don't buy this digital background. I'm actually in New Orleans filming a movie called Renfield with Nicolas Cage as the vampire. And we have, I don't know if you know Aquafina, she's a big star here now. And I'm her sidekick, and I'm working with weapons, and I'm doing yoga, and it's been intense.
Nice.
But you need these things. You need these things as an actor. You need to do both. You need to do the
Yeah.
big babies, and you need the smaller films to feed your soul and all this. And so I'm glad to be here.
Well, here's hoping we see you at our end of the world,
Very soon.
whether promoting your film or doing something here. You never know, maybe some opportunity. I want to wish you the best of luck with the movie and with your career. And thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us and giving us insights into the process of getting iGilbert done. It's been a pleasure, Adrian.
Thank you, Patrick, and hopefully we'll stay in touch.